Mpele mpenzi, sema ulo nalo, kama ni maradhi yapeleke kwa daktari, and your doctor's advisor is here. On the hot days and the cold nights, apples have or attract diseases and pests. Something you didn't know. The rainy seasons are here. Again, they come with so many pests and diseases. Apple farmers can have a bountiful harvest, or you can have no harvest at all. But as J. Kusenga Farm, we sat down, we have been to farms, and we sat down and thought, why not educate you or tell you about the small things that make your trees not fruit or stagnating fruiting. There can be so many things that can lead to that, but the most common thing that we have seen and is affecting farmers is diseases and pests. Class 101 with J. Kusenga Farm. The first and most common disease that you will meet, it's a fungal disease. The first and most common is powdery mildew. You might not be sure if it is powdery mildew or not. Again, consultation is a learning process, and you can consult anyone in the farming industry who has been in the farming industry for long. They can tell you, because they can identify. Like for us, we have been in the industry for over 8 years. Over 8 years of learning. Now we give bountiful harvest because we know and we can identify. Powdery mildew. When you scout your farm, we encourage scouting in the farm. When you walk in the farm, your leaves are supposed to be green. If you see your leaves and the buds having some whitish stuff, not like the the baby powder, baking powder, it looks whitish. It's like someone has sprayed a little bit of whitish stuff on the leaves and the buds. That is a sign that your apple trees have diseases, and the disease is powdery mildew. Now, this powdery mildew can affect the early shoots and the older shoots. It can affect the early shoots or the older shoots, but most common is on the leaves and the buds. It looks whitish, it looks nice because it makes your tree look like it's during the winter. There is fog on your trees. That is a sign you should look for a solution for the disease. Now, the first solution I will give you as a farmer is one, you should cut the branch that has the disease. After cutting, you burn. After cutting the leaves, you burn them. The reason you're burning is because, one, powdery mildew is spread by wind. Now, when the wind blows, you have cut your trees and drop them on the ground. They are supposed to act as compost, but because they are affected, they will affect the other trees that are around. Again, powdery mildew is spread by wind. It is the most common you will see in the farm, and you will not be able to identify them because, again, it looks nice. It makes your tree looks nice, but it is a disease. Neem oil, or in Swahili we call it mwarubaini, is also a solution. Introducing apples with resistant rootstock can also be a solution. The other most common is apple scab. Apple scab is easy to identify. When you scout your farm, again, we encourage scouting in the farm. When you scout in the farm, you will see your leaves and your apples, the fruit themselves, they have dark spots. The dark spot is not because of being bitten by the birds. The dark spots are signs that your apple is affected by apple scab. Now, the dots are very distinct. You can see them. When you have apple scabs, the one thing you should do is, now the solution to the bitter solution. It hurts every farmer to do this, but the bitter solution is you remove the affected leaves and the fruit. That is why I was saying it is bitter, because one, you are removing. It can be a fruit as big, as mature as my hand is right now, but then you will have to remove them because they are affected. They will not give you returns because people will not buy. Again, I told you we can have bountiful harvest or zero harvest. But now, when you identify apple scab as early as you identify them, the dark spots, they are dark spots that are very distinct. You remove the affected leaves. When you remove the affected leaves, it will give your tree a chance to grow, to get new leaves and grow better. Fire blight. Fire blight is very easy to identify. The same as apple scab. Apple scab, you will find the dots. But for fire blight, you will see the tip of a branch starting to dry up. It is not that someone was walking in the farm, hurt the tree for it to start drying up. No. It is a sign that your apples or apple tree has fire blight. Now, the solution to this is very easy, but again, it is very hurtful. You will have to cut the branch that is affected, and cutting the branch is not cutting the whole branch. From the tip is here. It is affected up to this point. Now, the end of the affected part, because it is a dry tree, from there to you measure 2 feet. Now, the end of the drying part you measure 2 feet, then cut from there. For the young trees that have been planted, for them they just dry up. The whole tree, it dries up. But fire blight mostly affects grown trees. Again, when you feed very well and you eat very well, you eat a balanced diet, chances are very high you will not be sick. Food for thought. Let me tackle pests. I will give you 2 pests that are very common in the farm that most people are not aware of. And one of them is aphids. Aphids are easy and also hard to detect. But there are white aphids, green aphids, and red aphids. The easiest and most common way to identify them is when you have ants on your trees. Aphids attract ants on your trees. Now, for aphids, you'll start having your leaves curling. Sometimes they look as if they're not healthy. They start curling. It is not a good sign when your leaves start curling. And the easiest way to identify that they have aphids is you need to scout the farm. The one thing we encourage as farmers, as J. Kusenga Farm, is you need to scout your farm. You will get a solution by scouting your farm, because you will see. The same way you take care of your kid when they are young is the same way I would encourage you to walk in the farm and get to know these small things. Now, you can also, when you're walking, when you're scouting the farm, you will find some, when you touch the leaves, sometimes they have some sticky stuff. That is a sign that your tree has aphids. The easiest solution, and it is the easiest, that is because I'm saying that it is easy. The easiest solution to dealing with aphids is you just spray water in the farm. Spray water in the farm. When you spray water in the farm, because the aphids are very weak, they will fall from the leaves. Once they fall from the leaves, ants are not attracted to a plant that doesn't have aphids. Aphids target the leaves because they suck sap from the leaves, and because the tree is feeding on the content that comes into the leaves. Them they take from the sap. Your tree becomes weak. But if you spray water with high pressure, they fall from the leaves. Your leaves become free. But again, you should continue controlling, because if you don't, they will come back. Now, as you continue spraying, organic farming encourages things like chameleons and ladybirds to come to your farm. Naturally, they will come. That is another way of controlling aphids. When you see a chameleon in your farm, kindly don't kill it. They have a purpose for visiting your farm. They are looking for these things called aphids. The second most common insect that you deal with are fruit flies. For fruit flies, I will explain it this way. Have you ever gone to the market? You bought a nice mango, nice apple. You reached home, cut it into two, and the one thing you meet is a whole rotten thing inside. That is not the apple that has stayed on the shelf for long. It means that the fruit was visited by fruit flies. Now this is how fruit flies work. They come to they attack. Fruit flies attack mature fruits. Now, when they come to your fruit, they lay eggs. If you have not controlled the fruit flies in your farm, they lay eggs on the fruits, on the surface of the fruit. Now, because when they lay eggs, you are not a scientist to tell that it is an egg. Chances are very high the eggs hatch. When they hatch, they get into the fruit. They start hatching from inside. They don't hatch from the outside. Once the egg is on the surface, there's a way it penetrates scientifically. It penetrates inside and it lays inside the fruit. Once it is inside the fruit, you cut an apple that is mature. Voila! You find all these crawling things. They continue eating the apple from inside, but we can say them. We can call them maggots, just to make you not feel yes. But they lay the eggs from the inside. The easiest, and it is the easiest way to control them, is laying fruit fly traps. Yes, that was some gibberish. Fruit fly traps in the farm. That will help you control the apples from getting fruit fly attacks. And it is very easy because the fruit flies are common. There are different varieties of fruit fly traps, but they work. Okay, now that has been our education on pest and diseases class 101. I'll be seeing you very soon, but I need your response as to if you have experienced this kind of diseases, pests and diseases. But as you give us feedback on the nitty-gritties of the diseases you have faced, we are here to reach out in case you need us. You can reach out to J Kusenga Farm. We are always available to guide you and tell you where you're going wrong, what you need to do. There are synthetic ways of controlling these pests and diseases, but remember, they are not sustainable. From J Kusenga Farm, it is class 101.